One of the biggest reasons that you don't achieve your goals is because you set yourself up for failure from day one. Now, I've been running strategy days with my clients for several years now, and they've all gone from this defeatist attitude towards goals and giving up on making goals completely to now making the most amazing goals and smashing every single one of their goals every single quarter. So how do they go about doing this? Well, first of all, let's talk about goals, because we're sitting here in January 2025 and everyone is rife with this whole new year, new me attitude. Everyone's setting goals, they've got their brilliant planners out, they're all in the gym on this fitness regime, and they're creating New Year's resolutions. But did you know that we're already just 1 week into January and about 23% of people have already failed their goals? Now, we fast forward another few weeks and 80% of those people have failed their goals. So isn't there something wrong with the goals they're setting? Because not everyone is a failure. Not everyone is lazy or has bad intentions. They set good intentions, otherwise they wouldn't have set these goals in the first place. But there has to be something fundamentally flawed with the way people are setting goals, otherwise there wouldn't be such a high failure rate. So let's have a look at what goal setting is about and what the usual way of setting goals is. If you were to Google how to set goals, you will get a response that talks about SMART goals. It's always the go-to thing for goal setting. And if you don't know what SMART goals are, well, S stands for specific, M stands for measurable, A stands for achievable, R stands for relevant, and T stands for time-bound. So this is a really good framework for how to set goals to make sure they kind of fit all these criteria. However, I have a couple of issues with this format, and especially when it comes to T, time bound, because the idea of having this time bound is to set a deadline for yourself, because if you're never going to set a deadline, then you're probably never going to try and achieve that deadline and work towards it. The problem is, where does this deadline come from? Often it's just arbitrary. You just picked this deadline out of thin air. And then the problem is, in lots of different, occupations and roles where there are deadlines and there's goals set, people take shortcuts just to be able to achieve it. This is classic in sales, where you just have a quota that you need to hit, and people will cheat the system, they'll do all these tricks and traps in order to try and achieve them. And when it comes to SMART goals and you're doing this for yourself, you're only cheating yourself, and I don't think this is right. And I think that often when you set yourself a deadline too as well, you're putting unnecessary pressure on yourself when actually you don't need to have this. And then we're talking at A, which is achievable. Achievable by whose standards? You're setting this goal, and if you set the bar too high, then you're setting yourself up for failure, because you're never going to achieve that, and then you feel, oh my god, I'm useless because you haven't achieved this goal, which is super high. But then if you set the bar too low, then it's not really a challenge and it's kind of easy, and what's the point in that? So there needs to be a better way of trying to create goals that are going to help push you, but also not put too much pressure on you as well. And there's got to be a fine balance. So a lot of the reasons why people aren't achieving their goals is because they don't know their why. Now, if you've ever seen Simon Sinek's TED Talk or read his book, Start With Why, you'll understand what I mean here. And essentially, it's starting with, what is the reason you're trying to achieve this goal? So you've got your goal written down on a paper, but what is the purpose of this goal? Like, why are you actually trying to do this? So you need to know fundamentally what your reason is for doing something before you actually go ahead and set this goal. Because I've seen so many people set themselves goals because their competitors are doing it or someone else is doing it. I've seen it on social media. For example, now, so many people I know are like, I need to write a book. And I'm like, why do you need to write a book? And they go, well, so-and-so's got a book and so-and-so's got it in the best-selling list and all this sort of stuff. And they're immediately comparing themselves to others. So I'm like, okay, so tell me what a book is going to help you do. Well, it's going to help use my personal brand. It's going to put me in this. And they've got all these preconceived ideas based on what they've seen on social media. But actually, when you delve down into it, not everyone needs to write a book. And actually, some people, the time and effort it's going to take them to write a book, it's going to detract them from their actual real big mission and vision. And it's actually a terrible idea. The same as people saying, I want to do a TED Talk. I run TEDx Shoreditch and I see hundreds of applications every single week from people who want to do a TED Talk. And not many of them actually really want to do it. It's just something they're just trying to cross off a list because someone else has done a TED Talk and everyone else said that that's what you need to do. And actually they don't realise the time and effort that goes into it. We've had lots of people accept to do TED Talks and they back out and they freak out because it's just not right for them. So I think you need to start off with why you're doing it and understand whether your motivation for doing these goals is intrinsic or extrinsic. And what I mean by that is, does it come from within? Do you really want to do this? Is this something that you believe that you need to do and you want to do and you're passionate about? Or are you looking for external validation? Are you doing it because you want to show off on social media and put it on Instagram and tell your friends and family and make them proud of you? So what is actually driving you? Because unless you have real intrinsic motivation, you're never going to really achieve your goals. So the question is, how do you set yourself proper goals? Now, when I think about successful entrepreneurs, they don't just pick a lofty goal and be like, right, that's what I'm going to do and that's what I'm going to go for. Instead, they actually change how they act, what they do, and create healthy habits and essentially become a different person and take on identity of someone who's going to achieve that goal. For example, it's January, so many people have set a weight goal. People are like, I'm going to lose weight. Now, instead of being like, I'm going to lose 10 pounds by X date, because again, it's the time band thing, people set this sort of goal. Instead of doing that, I believe you need a bit of identity change. So instead of saying, I'm going to lose this amount of weight, I say, I'm going to become a healthier person. And so what do healthy people do? It becomes a lot easier instead of being like, I cannot eat this piece of cake. I cannot do this. I must go to the gym 3 times a week. And then you're forcing yourself to do these things and they become a bit of a chore and you don't enjoy it. But instead, if you take on this role as a healthy person, you're like, I am now a healthy person. You're sort of like, well, would a healthy person just binge eat this cake here while watching Netflix? No. Healthy person would get off the sofa, probably go out and do a bit of exercise, and this is what a healthy person would do, and then drink lots of water, eat a piece of fruit instead, and that's what a healthy person would do. And I'm a healthy person, so I'm going to do that. And by taking on this identity change, it's actually easier to achieve your goals, and you actually create healthy habits for yourself. I actually created my own acronym. I love an acronym, I just have some issues with SMART. Mine is actually called shaping, because I believe that we are shaping ourselves into the person we want to become. And so I've created a shaping system for goals. So we'll start with S. So my S stands for start small. Now, I think a lot of people try to go big when they're starting goals. They try to do a new year, new me, whole thing, and try to revamp themselves. I'm guilty of this too, and I feel like I'm motivated to do lots of things, but that sets yourself up for failure. So I say start small. For example, if your goal is to write a book, and hopefully that's for the right reasons, then instead of being like, I'm going to do 2 hours a day, every single day, and I'm going to complete my book. No, don't do that. Start off with just 100 words per day. Start small. Once you do that and it works out well, make it 200, then make it 500. And sometimes when you sit there going, I'm making it 500, you're bashing out 1,000 words. But if you set it small and keep doing it, then that's the best way to do it. And that leads nicely on to H, because H is habit formation. And what you're trying to do with that starting small is that you're trying to turn into a habit. That means showing up every single day without fail. Like, you are going to do 100 words every single day. Even if that takes you, you're going to have to do it on the fly, on your phone, whatever. It's going to be a habit. You cannot miss a single day. And in fact, there's a book by James Clear called Atomic Habits, and that's a brilliant book to read on habit formation. And he suggests that you can miss 1 day, but you absolutely cannot miss 2. So I think it's really important that you kind of form these habits and build it up over time. So A stands for accountability. So I highly recommend getting an accountability partner, because your results skyrocket once you've told someone that you're going to achieve those goals and you show up and they keep you accountable to actually doing that. For example, I told someone that I was going to start recording some more YouTube videos and getting it out there, and now I have to do it because I've told this person and they're checking in with me. Thank you. So for P stands for personalize. And what I mean by this is, don't just copy what everyone else is doing out there. It's so easy to look on social media and be like, I want to do that, so and so is doing that. But actually, it doesn't work for you. You need to think what's right for you and your brands, and make sure you are personalizing your habits and your goals to you. I stands for intrinsic motivation. Like I said earlier, are you doing this for you because you really want to do it, or are you doing this for external validation? Because if you are doing it for external validation, it's never going to work out. So you need to look at your why and understand why you're doing it and make sure that it's all internal. N stands for no. This is going to be the most powerful word that you will learn to use. I'm not good at it myself, but it's the absolute essential word that you need to use to be able to achieve your goals, because if you take on all these different opportunities, I know how difficult that is when you're an entrepreneur. It's so easy just to say yes to everything, but you must say no to anything that doesn't actually align with your goals. Otherwise, it's just a distraction. And G stands for gamification. So I believe that if you kind of create a game out of it, whether you're using a habit tracker, whether you're giving yourself rewards along the way, gamifying things has been shown to produce so much better results because people are kind of rewarding themselves along the way and it becomes more fun to do. Like I said at the beginning, you do not want to make it into a chore because that's how you see goals fail. So that is my system for setting goals. It stands for shaping, and I hope it becomes a much more rewarding way for you to achieve your goals. Now, I'm going to put some recommended reading in there. I already mentioned Atomic Habits by James Clear. I read that every single January to help me set the tone for the rest of the year. Now, I'm also recommending Simon Sinek, Start With Why. Like I said, it's all about why are you doing this? Are you doing this for the right reasons? If you start with that, I think that's a great place. And then I recommend Dan Pink's Drive. That talks about internal versus external motivation. And I think that if you understand all of these concepts, you'll be able to find deep down inside what you're meant to do and how you're meant to do it. And I think that you'll see much better results with your goals. So I hope that you've liked this video and you found it really useful. And if you have, please hit that like and subscribe button below, and then do share it with anyone else who you think might need some help achieving their goals in 2025.